All right, it's Wednesday. We're back with The Positive Effect. My name's April Sabral. I am the host of this weekly show where I bring to you amazing conversations about the industry that I love, retail and leadership. And this week we're doing something a little bit different. We don't have our traditional kind of retail leader on the show, but we do have an exciting announcement. So I wanted to bring Orlando on. So welcome, Orlando, to The Positive Effect.
Thank you, April. I'm excited to be here.
So before we jump into, talking about this exciting news that we have to share with our community, I'm just going to set us up really quickly. So if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Put your name in the comments, let us know where you're from. Any comments that you make as we're going through, anything you learn, insights, just share. We love to go back and read them afterwards. And then, I'm asking everybody that comes across this in their feed, share it with their retail network. This is amazing conversations that come to life, and we need your help to kind of spread the word, and especially with this week's live, because this is a very significant kind of step that we're taking at Retail U to partner with Orlando's team. So, just share it. So with that, we'll jump right in. So Orlando, if you want to just, you were on our show at the beginning of the year. We had kind of announced a formal partnership with you at the beginning of the year, but we were really trying to figure out how can we help you on a bigger scale. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to share with our audience, because people probably don't know who you are in my audience,
right?
Who you are, what you're about the One Voice, One Team, and how it all came about, because I think your story is just fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Well, so thank you again, April, for having me. It's been a journey. Congrats on your 25th episode.
That's
awesome. Continue to always bring value to folks as they serve and as they lead and as they equip their team. So thank you for allowing us the opportunity to be a part of that journey and a part of their experience. So One Voice, One Team is a youth leadership charity that really helps young people see beyond their current circumstances so that they could use their gifts and their talents to pour into others. We've started off with a summer camp where we were, focused on pouring in through 5 principles, what we call the SWOL principles. S for self-respect, that's the foundation. W for work hard, not just working hard physically, but having a game plan. The O is for overcoming adversity or obstacles or challenges, because we all will face them, whether you're a retail, lead or you're just life. We're going to have to deal with challenges. The L is leading by example. So not just talking about how we lead, but actually showing up in ways of leadership and contribution. And the E stands for excellence. So how do we cultivate excellence? How do we celebrate excellence as we see it and as we see the capacity of excellence in others? So, it started off as that and really has evolved into, we now serve young people across North America, primarily here in Canada, and interact with about 20 to 25,000 young people per year. We're pouring into them, right? And we're helping them redefine possibilities for themselves and for their families. So as we had this opportunity to connect with you, April, and your team and discuss how we could equip young people with, work experience, retail experience, and not just the skills that are specific to what folks would say to the workforce or the workplace.
Yeah.
The things that you talk about, the things that we bring to them are things that are connected far beyond the workplace, right? It's leadership, it's communication, it's, seeing the humanity in others, it's time, management and prioritization. So things that will help them serve and be excellent in the retail space and also help them in real life. Right.
I mean, when I think back at what I'm so excited about working with youth, and that we found you last year through the pandemic, through an introduction of a friend. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm so excited about it because when I go back to when I was 16 and I was kicked out of home at 16, and I talk a lot about this in my book and what that did to my self-worth, on my journey to growing to be an adult. Like when I was 16, I got kicked out of home. I had to get a job. I got a job in a retail store because it was the easiest job for me to get. I didn't have to go and get a formal education. It was something just to kind of earn money. And then those leaders that I worked with along the way, when I was at that age, that pivotal age, really instilled confidence in me. I had a lisp. I was like goofy. I wasn't confident. I was going through a lot. And retail kind of saved me at that age because it put me in a team. It put me with people that believed in me. And I think if I was that age and I had the opportunity to go through a program like what you're doing in high schools, because what you're teaching, they don't learn in school. I've got a 17-year-old. I saw him last year go through what he went through in the pandemic. And I think, God, where could I have been? I mean, I did okay for myself, obviously, like I'm here now, but what would have happened to me and where would I have been if I had had the opportunity to have a program like you're doing? And also, we're in a different time than I was at that age. The youth have a lot more pressure on them, right? A lot more challenges today with the world and all the information that's out there. So this is why I'm so excited. When I found you guys and that program, I was like, man, it just took me back, right? Like to being that person. And thank you to you for like actually making this your mission in life.
Yeah. Well, and I'm clapping hands for those who are going to be listening on the podcast and can't see my expression here. Because it really is exciting as we think about what's possible, right? And what was missing, as we came up through our journey and what's missing now. And it's, interestingly, as you touch on, the depth of how complicated things can be for young people today. Our youngest son, who's just turned 15, said to me, "Dad, I think I was born in the wrong era." And I was like, "What? Why do you say that?" And he said, "Well, for one thing, the music when I listened to like 80s and 90s, the music had messages to it, right? It's just everything nowadays just seems like it feels and sounds like the same. But there were like storylines and things. And then, there weren't some things that are distracting us as young people from being who we are, right? And there weren't things that tell us who we should be that are constantly bombarding us and adding pressure. And I just wish, that it wasn't like that, but it is what it is. I just think I was born in the wrong era. And I found that to be so interesting and consistent with what young people have been saying about the pressures that they feel.
Right.
And, wanting to be connected to something bigger than them and wanting to know that there's the gifts and the skills that they have are actual gifts and they are actual skills and things that are of value. Right. And I think through what you've curated through retailu and through, what we're doing here at One Voice, One Team and the partnership therein, we're able to help highlight those things for young people and bring it to the surface and celebrate the heck out of them. As we do that.
Yeah. So, we're going to talk more about this partnership as we go through this show, but I'm really interested to hear before we get there and like let everybody know what we're doing. I mean, as we go through this, like, I want to ask you some real specific questions, right? Like about what you're seeing with youth. I know from a retail perspective right now that there is huge vacancies with the part-time workforce that would normally be of applying for summer jobs or, through holiday last year, they didn't have that experience of getting their first time job. I watched my 17-year-old struggle last year trying to get a part-time job in a grocery store. Things like confidence. Mom, I don't want to go out and work in a part-time. If I work in a service store, that I might bring COVID home to you and I don't want to get you sick. That's a weighing concern. I was really shocked by that one, but that was a weighing concern on a young person, my young person's mind. Also, like, how do I fill out a resume? How do I go and apply? I'm online. I'm trying to submit something. I have no clue how to do it. It was really eye-opening for me to see all the stresses that he was going through. So you work with youth every day, and these are our part-time employees that retailers would normally hire that now are dying to figure out how to fill their vacancy. So what are you hearing? What are you seeing? There's real like myth that this generation is lazy and they don't want to work, blah, blah, blah. There's all this talk, but like, what are you seeing? You work with them.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that when we talk about how things have shifted, right, and moved online and some companies were quicker to embrace that than others. And there's been there are some gaps as you embrace things that are new or as you ebb and flow or morph or try things differently. And for young people who are feeling that disruption, the way that they interact. Again, think of the age, the time that they're journeying through in life, right? And the importance of social connection, right? And now it's like, well, no, you can't, and you can't go see your friend. You can't, just go hang out at the park, right? So there's been impact, from a socio-emotional perspective that is playing on the minds of young people, and then the uncertainty, right? Well, what's next? Is it go? Can we go? Can we not? Is it, how many people in a room? Can there be 10? Is it 25? Nobody, right? So all the uncertainty adds to the burden of, well, I don't know. Just in adolescence in general, young folks are trying to figure out who they are, where they fit in society, and how they could show up. And society is shifting while they're trying to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And the way that you interact, the way you apply for jobs are shifting, the way you go to school. So with all of that uncertainty, there's some challenges and burden that young people feel. And what we've seen is a lot of young people saying, you know what, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if this is it. I don't want to put myself out there. I don't want to be wrong. We're living in a cancel culture. What if I say the wrong thing? And so it's better if I just sit back and do nothing, right? That's safe. It's a safe place to be.
Right.
So, and we encourage young people to use their voice, because we need their voices now. We need their energy. You spoke about the vacancies in retail right now. We need their contribution. We need them to show up in ways that shift possibilities for themselves and for others, right? So we want to encourage them, but not just say, you could do it, right? You have the tools, but to equip them, help them to see, we call it, mirrors and windows. If we could shift what they see and believe when they look in the mirror, then when they look out at the window of possibilities, that perspective shifts also.
Oh, I like that. Mirrors and windows.
So it's about focusing on what they see in terms of what's possible. And at what we've seen over the years is, once they start to believe something in terms of their ability to contribute and be part of something bigger, they then, first of all, can't unsee that, but then they start thinking, well, what else is possible that I never believed was possible about myself, or someone that comes from my neighborhood, or someone that looks like me, or someone in a retail space, etc. So we try to, we encourage them, we help them shift what they see in the mirror, and then we equip them with opportunities and tools to bring that to fruition.
So what I'm hearing from you is really, it's not that young people don't want to work, don't want to go out there and contribute. Because I hear that a lot, when leaders are talking about trying to recruit people. It's not that. It's really, if we could ignite that purpose and that passion now, and help them shift, which I love what you said about the mirror and the window, that perspective, then they would feel confident to go out and contribute in a way. And then we would have people applying for jobs and people coming into the workforce, because they would feel that confidence. And, let's face it, a lot of us spend our whole life searching for meaning and purpose.
Absolutely.
If you can ignite this now at that age, like, what can the planet look like in the next 10 to 20 years for us as we age, right?
Yeah. So I feel it's incumbent upon us to create those opportunities now. Like, we don't believe in the notion of leaders of tomorrow, leaders of the future. Shoot, they have what we need right now that they'll pour in and can serve and can contribute and can make a difference and can bring their voices, their experiences, their hopes, their fears, and share it in ways that allow us to speak to that. And to speak to the possibilities within those things, so that we can move them towards what's possible, not just for themselves, but our collective possibilities.
Right.
And I just feel we have to.
Yeah. And the parallel I feel every time I talk to you is like, that's what, I know you haven't worked in retail. You were a CFL player, right? Like before you started on this whole mission, but I'm telling you, somebody that's worked in retail my whole life, all we do is help people shift a perspective of what they believe they can achieve. And also, like, young people, I can't tell you how many young people I hired, especially when I was at David's Tea. Our workforce was really young, who would come in and be like, oh, this is just a part-time gig and it's nothing. And then, like, 6 months down the line, they're thinking about how they can, grow in their career, or how they've made a difference, or they get involved in community projects that the company's put together, or just because they've had this one person that, like what you guys are doing, is equipping them with the skills, not just saying you can do it, because there's a lot of that out on the internet, right? Like, oh, you can do it, do this and make a quick book, and you'll be this overnight, be successful. And nothing is a short road, but if we can equip them with the skills. And that's what I love about what you're doing, because you're doing what we do in retail stores with youth every day. You're just doing it before they even get to us. It's like you're doing it at the school level, which is so important, because that's not in curriculums.
Yeah, absolutely. And it should be, but it isn't. So until it is, we have to continue the work. And I think back on my journey and post-secondary, I was in school just outside of Chicago, Illinois, and I had an opportunity. I was chosen by a company called Sears Roebuck. You remember Sears Roebuck?
Yeah.
So, I was one of 12 students that were selected for this internship over the summer, where it was 6 weeks in store and then 6 weeks rotating through functional roles at head office. Powerful, powerful, powerful experience. Prior to that, I did some sales at like a play it again sports type thing. But the Sears internship was so powerful in seeing how the different tentacles of business work together or not. Right. And how the role of the manager as you're pouring into your staff can work or not. Right. So I think back to that experience. And although I didn't pursue that as a path, I went the IT route. It was so rich in really allowing me to see the importance of the planting of seeds. Right. And the broadening of perspectives as well. Right. Because sometimes, like, you've shared your journey, and perhaps when you got your first retail job, you weren't necessarily thinking all the places it's taken you, all over the globe, and what you're doing now. I'm sure that wasn't in the back of your mind when you went to your first retail job.
100% no. I was one of those accidental careers. Me and Ron Thurston talk about all the time, the author of Retail Pride. He's a friend of mine, and we talk about. I interview leaders on this show every week, CEOs, like directors, store managers, district managers, CFOs. And I asked them that question, did you think of retail as a career? A lot of us just was like, it was my first part-time gig. Like last week I had Rachel on, she was like, it was my part-time gig. I was selling shoes. I was going to school to be a lawyer. Yeah. She became a senior vice president of 1,000 stores. Like, it is an amazing career journey, and it is the third highest employment sector in the world. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because it wasn't my choice. I went to school for interior design. I just got kicked out of home and had to get a job, right? That was it. And then worked for amazing brands that invested in me. So I think that this is so important what you're doing. And so, like we're so excited I'm going to start talking about the program, what we're doing now, because I think we're 20 minutes in. And so we've got about 10 to 15 minutes left. But, what we're doing is creating opportunities for your program, the youth going through your programs it's called, what's the program called? Get Your Life. Your life. Okay. Get Your Life. The name of it.
Come get your life.
I love the name of it.
I get excited.
So with that program that you've been running for over a decade, right? Like you've been running this program and making a difference in young people's lives. But we came together and we've created a Retail U program for those youth going from your program that go into now an extended Retail U program, which is like scheduling etiquette. I think about this. I polled a whole load of managers when we were creating this program and said, what do you actually coach young people on the most? Why do people get fired? Why do they lose their job? What do you feel like you wish they knew? And it was things like calling out for a schedule, because, my kid, I had to call the school to call out for him. He didn't call the school himself. So he didn't learn that, right? So things like that, how to dress, scheduling, etiquette, stuff like that. And then we got 4 amazing retail leaders that I'm so excited, volunteer their time and their expertise. And we created 4 masterclasses. So Ron Thurston, like I said earlier, Solange Strom from L'Occitane, Megan Houle, who's an executive recruiter, and Darlene Huff. And so these 4 retail experts that have had amazing careers that kind of fell into it too, did masterclasses. So they go through these 2 programs, and retailers get the opportunity, which this is just so exciting to me, to sponsor these kids going through this program and offer them an internship at the end of it. Like who's done that? Like, seriously.
Really and truly, when we've had conversations with, guidance counselors at high schools or academic advisors, and when we start to share what the program is about and the opportunities that come, they're like, it's almost like they're looking around like, who have you told about this? We want to get as many young people as possible engaged, because it can be such a game changer for young people that are trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out, what is their path going to be, and you ask, so what do you want to do? What do you like? I don't know. I like what you do. I like what mom does is pretty cool, but I don't know if I want to go that route. How else do they get exposed in a safe way to what's possible?
Right.
And through this partnership, young people are being exposed to those possibilities and are being equipped with tools that will allow them to be successful when they have those opportunities as well.
Right. And I want to talk about this, and I'm going to give them a massive shout out for this. So Arden, which is a Canadian retail brand, right?
Come on, Arden.
That I've had the pleasure of working with in the last couple of years. I've been the first ones to jump on board to actually sponsor 45 kids going through this program right now. They're actually in the program, and they are offering internships at the end of it.
Yes.
And I am so excited by this, because one thing that I love about what Arden have done and are continuing to do is focusing on mental health in their workforce. A couple of years ago, they launched, I don't know if you knew this, Orlando, but they launched a mindfulness program in their stores where managers actually take a mindful moment. I don't know all the details. I'm not going to go into it in detail, but they have this mindfulness program, and they spend time training their managers and their leaders of the stores to spend time with the associates, like their part-time workforce, which are young people, on teaching mindfulness practices. Can you imagine? Like, who else has done that really well in the retail space? Nobody that I know. It's always about sales. It's always about numbers, which we know we need to be profitable because we employ people, because we make money. But at the end of the day, they're focusing on mental health. They've been doing this for a couple of years, and they've actually been nominated for awards and won things for it. And I think that with what you focus on as well with youth and mental health, it's like they go through this program, they get empowered, they find their purpose, they go through a Retail U program by with us in these master classes, and now they get an internship with Arden that are focused on mental health and really the well-being of this youth, which is fueling future leaders. Which
and I mean, when you think about it, right? Sometimes people think of mindfulness as one of those soft skills things. You're in a corner singing Kumbaya, or you're quiet, but the reality is, when you take care of your people and equip them to take care of themselves, they show up more powerfully at work. There's impact to the bottom line with that, right? There's impact when people know that their employer cares more about them than just about the bottom line. Right. So I think what Arden is doing is a demonstration of that care, and people are feeling that, and then bringing more energy because they're connected to something that sees them for more than the uniform that they're showing up in, right? And people need, especially young people nowadays, this generation is like, I just don't want any job, but the jobs that I want need to be contributing to something. It needs to have some type of impact, something bigger than just a transactional experience.
Right. So you have right now these kids going through this program. I know it started like last week. Can you share how they feel about having a sponsor like Arden, giving them the opportunity to go through these programs and then actually gain an internship at the end of it? Because this is new for you. You've been running this program for a long time, but what do you see in the youth?
Yeah, well, so one of the things that we think about and talk about is, I've had a lot of classes that, I enjoyed in high school. And then there's some that I enjoyed perhaps a little less. But one of the things when we would be doing certain subjects, I'd be like, well, am I actually going to use this? Like these algorithms, am I going to actually use this in real life?
Right.
Like, Shakespeare, am I going to actually use or not? Am I actually going to use this stuff? One of the things that is happening now is that they're seeing the direct connection between what they're learning and application. And not only learning an application in the here and now, but what it could mean in terms of vocational opportunities, career opportunities. So it makes the learning that much more real and significant and relevant to them right now, because it's something that they'll be able to act on. Right. So it's just, again, when you think of the educational journey, the educational experience, sometimes there's things that it's like, yeah, well, at some point it may come into effect.
Right.
There's a direct connection, and the line is drawn as they're participating in the program with respect to what the opportunity for application is.
Oh, I'm so excited by this, because for so long retail was like this accidental career. And even if I think about like when high school students are in their last year and they have their opportunity to go do an internship, or they have the list of, I know my son was picking like where he was going to go. Right. I don't really think retail was on the list. It was like going to a doctor's, going to a lawyer's. I know I did accounting when I was younger, and I was like, this is not for me. But, so I just think this is so cool that we've been able to create this, and, super like grateful for Arden, like jumping on board and like, and jumping in to help these young people, and also fill their gaps, because people got a lot of vacancies right now, So
there's the young people participating. They're so excited. They're like chomping at the bit. Sometimes we have to say, okay, so we're gonna move on to the next section now, because they're just like, and they're connecting it back to other experiences that they've had, and it's just such rich conversations and contributions by the young people involved.
It's amazing. So what's your goal with your programs? Like, is it just to impact as many youth as you can, or?
Yeah, absolutely. To impact as many youth as possible, right? Especially in times like this, because we have some understanding of what young people are journeying through right now. But the reality is, April, we're not going to really feel some of the effects for years to come. Maybe 5, 10, 15 years, we are going to be feeling the impact of what we're journeying through right now. And we have an opportunity, by how we show up in these moments, through programs, through collaborations like this, to be preemptive in terms of how we equip them with tools, with skills, with experiences that they could reflect back on to say, you know what? I journeyed through a tough time. I made it through. I had support. I had help from, retailu. I had help from companies like Arden. I had help from One Voice, One Team that helped me get perspective around possibilities. And because of that, I'm able to be doing what I do now. That's what we envision. And it's with that envisioning that we pour passion into our interactions with them, and our willingness to engage other retailers who are saying, you know what, I want to pour into young people as well. I want to create opportunities for them as well. We need our company to do more. We've got gaps to fill. We see that there are opportunities to connect. So let's connect, because there's a lot of need right now, and it's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah. And that traditional route, I think you've got to think differently when things are changing. When the world's changing, you need to pivot, and you need to think differently about the way you do things. And that's what I would say to any business leaders that are watching this or find this in your feed. It's like the traditional route of just going on Indeed and looking for resumes. You're not going to find the candidates that you want. And the thing is, because those candidates now that you want aren't necessarily applying for Indeed, they don't know how to do that. The technology on recruitment and applications is not caught up to the generation that we want to actually employ. I witnessed that with my son last year, trying to figure out how to, he's like, if it's not a button and a video and like a share, he's like, I don't know how to apply for this job. So I think there's a lot of misperception out there that, oh, they just don't want to work in retail. I have conversations all day. Oh no, there's so many other things they can do. Why can't we find the candidates? I just think that they're there, like you're sharing. These kids are so excited because it's connected to the outcome, and they can physically see what they're going to put into place. But I think they're there. It's just how you find them and how you ignite and inspire them. And we all have a responsibility. I have been living with my 86-year-old aunt for the last 6 months since I moved to California. Personal story. But what I will tell you, what I have learned from this is I'm going to be my aunt one day. And somebody is going to be me looking after me. And I want this generation behind us to be equipped to really be future leaders. We can't put our head down in the sand and say, well, it's not my problem. I'm just getting up and going to work every day. I have my house. I have my lifestyle. We can't do that anymore, because we need to actually put our head, like, jump in and make a difference as a big community and see that these are the people that are going to be looking after us in the future, driving our business, making decisions, building a better world, changing things. And that's why I get so excited about what you're doing, because you're going to the source of, like what you said, we're not going to see the ramifications for like 10 years on,
No. And the reality is we're talking about generational impact as well. Right. And pouring into, young people that allow them to shift possibilities, again, not just for themselves, but for their families. Once a young person steps into roles and they start showing up, right, and they start embracing some of the tools and the skills that we share and that we teach, confidence, communication, willingness to sacrifice, understanding that they're part of a team, that starts with their home team or family team. Right. Things shift around them as well. We've had parents from young people in programs come and say, what happened? Like, we're having conversations at dinner. They're talking about what's important. This wasn't happening before. Right. It's almost like they found themselves and found their voice.
Yeah.
And we need that. We need it in retail. We need it in
every industry.
Leadership. We need it all over, right? We need it in so many different places, right? So by giving them some opportunities to have those memories in their minds of times where they contributed in those ways, it will benefit us all.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm so excited about this. I mean, this is the first program going through, but I mean, I just can't wait to like bring you back on a year and say, God, look at how many people that we impacted, because to me, this is just a huge opportunity for anybody to get involved. Absolutely. Right? So if you are watching this, find this, work in a retailer, go and knock on somebody's door. You might be a manager, you might be a district manager, you might be a director, you might be a VP, you might be a CEO. I don't know. But if you find this, you need to get in touch with us. You need to get in contact with us. You're having problems filling your vacancies right now, or finding that, those future retail leaders that start off of many of us as part-time employees. Right. Get in touch with us, because this program is going to make a huge impact and a difference. And I really, truly believe that we can come together and make a huge impact together,
Agreed. So no matter where you are or what you're doing, when I say one voice, I'm going to invite you with passion and energy to say one team. One voice.
One team.
One voice.
One team.
That's what it takes. Thank you so much, April. Thanks for your leadership.
No, thank you. And, thank you as well to Arden for being part of the first cohort and the journey of getting these young people into work and making a difference in the lives of these youth. I can't thank them enough, and you. So happy that we found you. I'm going to say, if you find this, we're going to start wrapping up now because we're coming up on time. But watch this space. And if you find this, share it with as many people that work in retail as you know. There's opportunities for retailers to get involved and really help these youth and find your future talent. So
and I want to say, one last thing. Sometimes we look at these opportunities as, just for the skills that they get, just for the tools and the access to opportunities that they get. And I want to say it's bigger than that. What we've found is that it gives young people purpose. It gives them connection. And most importantly, it gives them hope. Mm-hmm. And if you have an opportunity to do that through how you show up in your career, whether you're a retail leader, manager, CEO, CFO, or someone connected, we have a real opportunity to shift possibilities for our young people and for us as a collective as we go forward. So, and this is one such opportunity that is one to be seized.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for sharing that. Mm-hmm. So thank you for joining us. Thank you to all of you watching this and making comments. We'll go back and have a read afterwards. And, we hope that you jump in and spread the word with as many people as possible. And we'll see you next week on another episode of The Positive Effect. Bye for now.